Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome all of you to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, are we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam today? Can you tell me the verse number?
Yeah. I was just curious. Dinanath Gauranga is not available?
Yes, Maharaj. He's traveling to India. I think until mid-March, he's not available, Maharaj. And Anasuya Mataji also not available tomorrow. She is also in India.
Yeah, why being in India does that disqualify you to the service? I'm in India.
Don't know, Maharaj. Yeah.
I don't understand why they can't do it. Ask them. All right. I don't want to burden devotees too much with this thing. It becomes a burden. I hope we can avoid that. All right. So we'll go on with.
Yes, Maharaj.
If you recall, when we switched to the 12th canto, before then we had just finished the 9th chapter of the first canto.
Yes, Maharaj.
So we'll finish, now we'll begin with the 10th chapter of the first canto.
Okay, Maharaj. Sure. So the title of the chapter is Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. I just share my screen. 1 second, Maharaj. Yeah. Next one.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sonaka Uvacham Advance Ritas the Atata, Yudhishthiro Dharma Vitambhari Vistaha Sahaj Nujay Patya Varuda Bhojana Tatam Pradiptikim Makarasit Tataha. Translation. After killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Yudhishthira Maharaj, assisted by his brother, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the greatest of all men of religion. Thus, he was not at all inclined to fight with his cousins for the sake of enjoying the kingdom. He fought for the right cause because the kingdom of Hastinapur was his rightful inheritance, and his cousins wanted to usurp it for themselves. He fought, therefore, for the right cause under the guidance of Lord Shri Krishna, but he could not enjoy the results of his victory because his cousins were all killed in the fight. He therefore ruled over the kingdom as a matter of duty, assisted by his younger brothers. The inquiry was important for Shaunaka Rishi, who wanted to know about the behavior of Maharaj Yudhishthira when he was at ease to enjoy the kingdom. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Damine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desataine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Shanika Muni is inquiring. And he's asking about Maharaj Yudhisthira, because we had heard when we were finishing the 9th chapter of this first canto a couple months ago, we heard how Maharaj Yudhisthira was lamenting that so many men were killed, so many women were now without brothers, husbands, sons. So he was lamenting for the women, for the amount of people that were killed, just so he can. But then, of course, Bhishma Dev pacified him and explained everything under the guidance of Krishna's direction. And therefore, he somehow or other understood, yes, I should take the kingdom. But still, he was not inclined to give his full enthusiasm for the service. But he did. He did it because he understood this was the arrangement of the Lord. And therefore, the arrangement of the Lord sometimes appears to be very unpalatable for the conditioned souls. But that is because we see things, or the conditioned soul sees things, according to our own desires, and also according to a limited vision. Krishna knows past, present, and future. Therefore, he's performing activities in the present in order to bring about in the future success or spiritual principles will reign. We can't always see that because we can't see the present, and we can't see the future from the present. And therefore, we question a lot of times why Krishna does what he does. Now, Krishna has two natures. One, he wants certain things to happen, and so he, using his energies, he makes them happen. Or by arrangement of circumstance, things are played out by the material energy. And Krishna doesn't interfere with that. It's not that he wants it to happen or he doesn't want it to happen. He just remains neutral. In many cases, when the material energy is working in a certain way, that is his prerogative, to not get involved or to get involved. Again, not getting involved means that he allows things to take their natural course of events. And sometimes devotees don't understand that when Krishna does that, there's also a reason for that too. And a lot of times, because of the circumstance, he just doesn't get involved because the devotee's devotion is not very strong, or the circumstances, he doesn't want to, just like sometimes we heard from devotees asking Srila Prabhupada a question. When Krishna was, Krishna definitely appeared in the land of India. And therefore, it says the land of India is Punya Bhumi, a place where there is piety, religiousness, and people who are born in the land of India are also very advanced on the path of either piety or spiritual development. And so when the question came by one devotee, I remember the conversation, when certain atrocities happened in India by the outside forces who came, the question was, why didn't Krishna stop it? Obviously, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all powerful. But Prabhupada responded, he is not your brother's servant. In other words, if he were to get involved, he doesn't get involved in all of these smaller things that go on in the course of the events by way of the material energy. But he gives the living entity the proper understanding by which to live and how to avoid calamities of life. In other words, he teaches us through his representative, the spiritual master, and through other great sages, through the scriptures, and through other sources, what is beneficial for the living entities. But sometimes the living entities don't follow that or don't understand why they should follow it. And therefore, sometimes they find themselves in difficult situations. So that happens quite often. Why is there so many calamities? Why doesn't Krishna do something to stop it? We are good people. There was a book that was written many years ago, which became one of the best-selling books ever on the best-selling list throughout the entire world. Why do bad things happen to good people? And it was done by it was written by a rabbi, a Jewish priest, who had a son who was born with a very rare disease called progeria. Now, progeria is quite rare. It's a disease that has come from Africa. And the disease works in such a way that a person will go through their whole life stages very quickly. In other words, their body ages very fast. The aging process is accelerated by this disease. And the boy, who was the son of this rabbi, he was born with this disease, and he died of old age at the age of 14 years old. He only lived 14 years. And died a natural death of old age, or died by cause of this disease. Now, he's a rabbi, and he's thinking, I'm a man of God, and here's a young boy, he's innocent. Why has he have to go through this horrible situation? Now, he didn't want to criticize God, but he wrote this book, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? And it was something that people were always wondering, why, if there's so many good people have to suffer in the world, why is that? Why doesn't God do something? These are good people. And so his conclusion was, well, God He is your best friend. He is your well-wisher. He wants the best for you, but he's not all-powerful. That was his conclusion. That he tries his best to help in all these situations. But so many of these situations are all going on at the same time throughout the universe, and he's not able to handle all of it. So he's somewhat deficient in the element of omnipotency. He's not all powerful. So that book seemed to be the answer for everybody's questions. Oh, wow. And now we know why God didn't do it. He wants to. He helps some of us, but he doesn't help others because there's so many going on. He's just not able to handle all of it. Which is, when you think about it, it redefines the whole definition of God, and actually takes away the definition of God, because one of the definitions of God is he's omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. He knows everything, he's all powerful, and he is present everywhere. And that is the definition of God. That's some of his qualities. So this book became a bestseller and people were buying it. Oh, here's the answer. And we were there at the time. This was back in the 1970s. The book was out. And we wrote a response. One senior devotee, Ravinda Swarup, wrote a response to that book. Bad things don't happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. So it was based on the idea of, that the soul transmigrates from one body to another, life after life. And one may commit a sinful activity in a previous life and not get the results until the next life. Or one may commit a pious activity in a previous life and not get the results until a further life. So that was never taken into account by the author. He didn't accept or didn't understand the principle of reincarnation. And so we wrote this response to the book. I'm not sure how the response was accepted. I think people really liked Rabbi Kushner, that was his name, Rabbi Kushner's analysis of, God's inability to help everyone, although he tries his best. He's a nice guy, and he tries his best. He's on our side, but somehow or other, he's got too much to do, and it's not possible. So you can see how ridiculous this statement is, because people get their results from their reactions of sinful activities and pious activities in the next life. Just like it says, if one is very sinful, they're born in a very impoverished family. Their bodily features are not very attractive at all. In other words, to use a word, they're ugly looking. And they find themselves getting implicated in a lot of legal activities in that life, and they're always struggling with various things in their life. This is due to their impiety in previous lives. And then or they take this sinful life and become very violent and cause harm to others. Or then you have people who are very pious and religious, and then they finish their life in an incomplete way, and Suchinam Simatam Gehe Yoga Brasta Prajayate. They take birth in a pious religious family in the next life, or in a very wealthy mercantile family, and they again begin their life from that position. So life is continuous because desires are continuous. Desires is the motivating force by which activities are performed. And the results of activities bring about a particular consequence, either pious, impious, or a mixture of both. Therefore, one has to desire only Krishna. One has to desire to become fully engaged in devotional service of the Lord, because any material desires that linger within the consciousness of the living entity manifests itself in different ways, and then one will get either a mixed desire or an unpleasant mixed result or an unpleasant result. So desire is just like it says, no one can do and cannot do anything, because desire is the element of life. As long as there's life, there's desire. Then the quality of desire determines the quality of one's life, because desire motivates one to speak, act, and think in a certain way, which brings about a particular result. So, therefore, one should desire only Krishna and Krishna consciousness. And the scriptures say one should desire a healthy life, because in that sense, then one can fix their mind fully on the activities of devotional service and ultimately become successful and go back home, back to Godhead. So the only material desire that we should have is that we should make sure that we take care of our health. Because physical health is important in order so it doesn't disturb, our health does not disturb our execution of devotional service. Now, that doesn't mean if one's physical health is not up to the standard, that will make one less inclined to go back home. No, that's not don't ask that question. Because one can be Krishna consciousness in any situation, whether in healthy or unhealthy. One has to just apply the principles accordingly under the directions of the spiritual master. But optimum health allows one to be free from the struggle to maintain and try to keep the body working by so many other time and attention that comes by way of a sickly life or an unhealthy life. So take care of your health and work hard, as Prabhupada said, work hard for Krishna. And that way you can use your time, your energy, your resources, your intelligence, your very life will bring you to the platform of pure devotional service. So here in this particular verse here, there's an inquiry by a great sage, Sanakarish. Sanakarish is the leader of all of the members of Namisaranya. If you recall that Bhagavatam begins with the assembly of Namisaranya, when all of the 88,000 sages are gathered at the holy place of Namisaranya, and they're performing a great sacrifice. They have elected Sutta Goswami to be the spokesman, and Sanakarish is the go-between between the devotees, all of the great sages, and Sutta Goswami, who is processing all of the questions that are given to him by the great sages. And he's asking these questions to Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is giving the answers. And then, of course, later on, he refers to Sukadeva Goswami, who comes into the picture and starts to instruct Maharaj Parikshit in the whole science of devotional service. This is how Bhagavatam is arranged. And so Sanakarish wants to know, so he can enlighten all of the sages, why Yudhishthira Maharaj he wants to know about his behavior. Is he at ease? Is he enjoying the kingdom? So that was the inquiry. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class. Very nice points you mentioned. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please unmute yourself or raise your hands. I'll call you. Thank you so much. And please turn on your cameras, if possible. Yeah. Supriya Mataji.
Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for this class. Maharaj, I wanted to ask how one should go about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's a very vast literature, and it, I mean, if one understands first a big picture view and then goes into the zoom in into individual part, then it becomes easy. But I still don't know how to go about all these things. Can you suggest some?
The question is how to read Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yes, like how to understand well.
How to understand?
Verse by verse, if we go, then suppose if I decide, okay, I will read one verse or two verse this today, then it doesn't create the link, a proper link. So how to go about it?
Give me 1 minute and I'll give you the answer. Okay, so there's a method for studying scripture. It's interesting you asked this question, because I was just at the seminar yesterday by a devotee who wrote a book called The Art of Studying and Teaching Scriptures by His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. And so he gives 4 categories: the mood for studying scriptures, the mood for the method of studying scriptures, the mood of teaching scriptures, and the method of teaching scriptures. Okay, so for the mood of studying scriptures, the mood is very important to understand. So developing this proper mood helps us to penetrate more the scriptures. And then, of course, the method is also there. So both mood and method when applied. And it's quite interesting. One of the things is that I remember in his lecture, I was there yesterday, he said that we should be approaching the scriptures, both in teaching and in studying, as we're approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, it's a devotional act, and not simply an academic study program. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different than Krishna. When Krishna left the planet, the question came, well, Krishna has gone, how will religious principle continue after he is gone? And the answer is in Bhagavatam itself, that Bhagavatam is the answer. In other words, Krishna left himself in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you want to know more about that principle, read 1st canto, 3rd chapter, verses 40 to 44, which is the last 4 verses in that chapter. These 4 verses center around the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, the position of Srimad Bhagavatam, its relationship to the Supreme Lord, and the mood of approaching and studying Bhagavatam. But to sum it up, in that one has to have an eagerness and a sense of urgency that one should adopt when studying scriptures. In other words, one should not be lackadaisical. One should not be routine or mechanical. One should be eager, and that this is very important. I have so much to learn. So one should be eager, a sense of urgency. That's one of them. One should be grateful for the opportunity to have such scriptures available. One should be humble in reading, because as I said, we're approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should have faith in what they read, and not read in an analytic way in order to try to squeeze out some idea or try to try to understand, is this correct or not? It is correct. It's just a matter of you understanding that. One should have a service attitude. One should look for the essence of what is being read. Looking for the essence means to sometimes repeatedly read the same points over again just to get. And one should try to understand, well, how this knowledge relates to my application of devotional service. These are the qualities. Of course, some of the other qualities I didn't mention is that becoming non-envious, learning how to, seeing that scripture is like food, just like the body gets food in order for it to maintain itself. The soul's food is spiritual knowledge. That is the soul food for the soul. The scripture is nourishing. And so these are some of the qualities that we can adopt for the mood. Now that's the mood. Now the method is, of course, the method is, there are 5 methods. It's called Shravanam, Patanam, Mananam, Nididhasanam, and Kirtanam. And these 5 cover 12 different points. Shravanam means we're hearing from the words of Srila Prabhupada, who is non-different, who is the manifestation of a pure devotee who is giving us that knowledge by explaining the verses, hearing from Srila Prabhupada. Of course, when you read Bhagavatam, you do. One is that when choosing a time for self-study, one should prioritize that time. In other words, make that time regular every day. Choose that appropriate time. Decide how long you're going to read. I'm going to read for 1 hour. I'm going to read for an hour and a half. I'm going to read for half hour. Decide how long you're going to read. Find yourself a good space that you can sit and be fixed on it. Read with concentration and determination. And here's a general statement: read the right book at the right time. And just like, for example, the teacher gave his own personal example. He was working hard in the fields and he was very tired. He came back and then it was late at night. So he was picking up Srimad Bhagavatam. And one of his friends said, "Why are you reading Bhagavatam this late? You're tired, you won't be able to really assimilate that. You're struggling trying to regain your energy. Why don't you read something like Krishna book?" So picking the right book at the right time. That's an example. There is the philosophy and then there's the pastimes. Try to understand how the book is structured. What is the flow of the book? How the verses are connecting to each other and how the theme changes as you go along, but still connects. It changes, but it's still connecting. You may also refer to the commentaries of the acharyas. Just for example, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has done a commentary on every verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's a whole set of books. About another 8 books, more than 8 actually. He covers all 12 cantos and gives commentaries on all the verses. Another thing is, you mentioned you can make notes while you're reading, and then when you're done reading, you go back over your notes and refer to them. And then you remember what you read, and then you look at your notes and see, and then you can go more deeper into what you read simply by reading your notes and reflecting on it. So these are some of the things. This is called pathanam. Pathanam means self-study. And mananam means recollection or revision, going back over. Nidhyasanam, nidhyasanam means deep contemplation. What is being said here? How can I understand it? And kirtanam means now you can speak about it. So you can speak about it in general, or you can speak it as an impetus to help you in your studies. In other words, you can do it as a service to others, or you can do it and you can speak it as a way to increase your understanding of the knowledge that you have received. Because we have a tendency to forget a lot of things we read, and that's natural. But if we take notes, if we reflect, if we read over again, then we go deeper into that material we covered. So these are some of the things. This is entitled The Method of Studying Scripture. So we have the mood, proper mood, and proper method. So you want to ask any questions based on what I said?
Supriya Mataji.
No, I understood. I saw book on the Amazon.
All right, if you're not sure, just play the tape back. This is being recorded and you can hear those same points again if you want to recall.
No, I understood. You said there has to be a mode. It should not be mechanical. Second thing, fix your time and place. Decide how long you want to read, and then take a notes. I mean, there are 5 points. First is you read, then then you listen. Listen from somebody here, and then contemplate it. Nididhyasan. Then you teach someone else. This is kirtanam, and one more, take a notes. And see how the verses are connecting to one another.
Yeah, taking notes comes into the category of pathanam, self-study.
I do that for every book, Maharaj.
Yeah, okay. So, and of course, the mood is important. Sense of eagerness, a sense of urgency, a sense of gratitude, humility, faith in the scriptures.
And take it as a devotional service.
Yeah, you're approaching the Supreme Lord in the form of scripture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji,
For
such an important question. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments? Yeah, Namrata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Supriya Mataji. It was an interesting question. We got a lot of help from that. So, Guru Maharaj, you mentioned studying right thing at the right time. So, which I felt is an important point. So many times, depending on the routine of our life, we categorize this thing. So sometimes we are like, we want to study, but we are tired of, and we don't want to too much go into the philosophical aspect. So we want to study, or we want to read something in that way. So I'm glad you mentioned that point, so that I can categorize it in that way. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's important. Late at night.
Thank you.
I mean, if you're going to read highly philosophical books late at night, you're going to either fall asleep, which is good sometimes, because sometimes you can't. If you can't sleep, just pick a book you can't understand and start reading it. And that'll help you go to sleep. But of course, we don't, that's not the idea, but that does work for sure. For people who have difficulty falling asleep. So just finding you start reading Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's commentary on Brahma Samhita, and you'll be out cold very soon. So, yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. I think that is one nice thing you mentioned, because I think at night time I would prefer to read your travel diary rather. Thank you.
Read, Krishna book, Krishna's pastimes, or maybe some devotee is speaking about his pastimes with Prabhupada, or, books like that.
Yes, Maharaj. I totally understand, because at night time we are more in the mode of ignorance, and philosophical things really doesn't catch in mind when we are in the night time, especially.
Yeah, he includes that in his, he says, what does he say here? He says, the right book at the right time.
Yes, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Maharaj. I was about to say, like, if we read Brahma Samhita, we'll definitely get sleepy anytime, Maharaj.
Perfect book.
Thank you. Shilpesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Before we start reading the Bhagavatam, should we know the Gita very well before we attempt the Bhagavatam? And when we start the Bhagavatam, is it helpful just to read the translations first, or should we read everything, including the purports and stuff, verse by verse?
Well, I'll answer that part first. I mean, Srila Prabhupada's explanations reveal what the verse is saying. I mean, if you want to read the whole chapter, just the translations, just to get an idea, then you go back to the very beginning and start reading the whole thing. You can do that. That's a method. But generally, we can't penetrate the meanings of the verses simply by reading the verses. But that's why the purports, uncover the deeper meanings, or the meanings that are not so recognizable by the ordinary mind. But Prabhupada gave us Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita simultaneously. Of course, he gave us Bhagavad Gita first, but then in the temples, we were going to Bhagavatam class in the morning and Bhagavad Gita class in the evening. And so we were studying both scriptures in that form, that protocol. So it is good to have, when you have a working knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, it becomes more easily, the Bhagavatam becomes more easily understandable. Because Krishna is putting himself clearly in the position of who he is in the Bhagavad Gita. He mentions who he is, what is his relationship with the material energy, who is the living entities, what is his relationship with the living entities, and the process for approaching him in the different yogas, karma yoga, jnana yoga, Astanga yoga, and then ultimately bhakti yoga. So as Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita is preliminary, and Srimad Bhagavatam is graduate study. So it's nice to have a working knowledge of Bhagavad Gita before you approach Bhagavatam. But you can also do both at the same time, but if you follow that process, you'll find Bhagavatam is easier to understand. You'll be more equipped to penetrate some of the meanings of Bhagavatam because you have a foundation in the preliminaries. This is like before you can take, calculus, in algebra, you have to go for basic mathematics.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very helpful.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. Maharaj, we have a question on chat. I don't know who is iPhone. Can you identify Mataji or Prabhuji? I don't know. So he's asking, Hare Krishna Maharaja, Yudhishthira was the greatest of all men of religion. Hence, he was not at all inclined to fight with his cousins for the sake of enjoying the kingdom. He fought for the just cause. This morning, I felt very tired and I needed to feel safe. So I thought about Krishna, who is the righteous cause, because this world is really a battlefield. But even though we fight for a cause, sometimes we feel down and defeated, even though we won, or so it would appear from the outside. This morning, I read a quote from Bhaktivedanta Swami's books, which lifted my heart. There are times when we feel very small and we can't win against Maya. Reading that, you have to be a spiritual warrior, helped me. Love is the protection and at the same time, the weapon we have, right? She's asking.
Love is the protection. What's the last few words?
And at the same time, the weapon.
Yeah. Love is the protection and the weapon, but love means love for Krishna. Love in this material world is not pure. It's mixed with the elements of the modes of material nature, and it's also based on one's own perspective of what is love and what comes by way to oneself, whether it's love or not. So real love is love for Krishna. When you're working to develop your love for Krishna, gradually that love expands itself out to all other living entities because Krishna is the Mula. Mula means root, and he is the source. As you develop your love for Krishna, you will see that Krishna is in the heart of all living beings, and so you have regards for others. When that regard starts to develop in the form of trying to serve others, and as service develops, love also naturally expands itself. Because love is based on service. It's not just an emotion that is ecstatic. Love means to serve in a way that is beneficial to the person that you're trying to love. Without service, there's no love.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Elena.
Thank you. Yeah. But we are on a battlefield. We're trying to push back the enemy. The enemy is personal interest, which comes in the form of trying to fulfill one's desires separate from Krishna. That is the enemy. The enemy is within us. It's also manifested externally because there are others. The material energy will also push you in that same direction. But the real enemy is within us. Therefore, if we conquer the enemy within, then the enemy without cannot do anything to us. Conquering the enemy within means to connect yourself in devotion to Krishna and depend on Krishna in all circumstances. One who sees me and everything in me, I'm never lost, and he is never lost to me. All living beings are my parts and parcels. They are in me. They are mine. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavatam, in the beginning, there was only myself. During the manifestation, there is only I. And after the annihilation, I am the only one that remains. For Krishna is the beginning, the middle, and end. He's of everything. So one who is intelligent will understand that anything I want to do, or anything I want to achieve, it has to be in relationship to what is beneficial for my relationship to Krishna. If it's not, then it's in the category of material, and therefore, then the war continues. The battle becomes, we're feeding the enemy. So giving up personal interest and taking on Krishna's interest is the process of success, the process of progress, the process of achieving happiness and ultimately eternal life. As Prabhupada would say, the enemy is personal interest. That is the enemy. It's about me. It's not about you. It's about your relationship with everything, which is based on your relationship with Krishna. Just become Krishna. That's all. Just become Krishna conscious.
Maharaj, I have a question related to that relation part. So how do we know what is our relation with Krishna? But usually we think that we have to think that we are the servants of Krishna. When we take a master-servant relationship, it's like Krishna is far away, that I am very low, or I'm very small in position. But when we take a relationship of father with Krishna, so we feel close to Krishna. So what should be our mood in that relationship towards Krishna, Maharaj?
Yeah, the spiritual master is there. If you want to know what your relationship is with Krishna, of course, it's based on servitorship. Whatever, even in the different relationships in the spiritual world, they're all based on servitude. The gopis are serving Krishna in the mood of Adhoya Ras. The parents are serving Krishna in the role of parent. The friends are serving Krishna in the role of friend. Service service is the foundation for all activities in relationship to Krishna. How can I serve? And then, if you're not sure of it, then the spiritual master will guide you in the way you can serve the Lord.
Okay, so Maharaj, so because I don't know, like I'm not that much elevated, like I have to have this particular rasa with Krishna. So the basic thing is like master and servant. Is it right, Maharaj?
Yeah. Jiver Surupai Krishnera Nityadas. All living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay.
That's your identity. And that service takes the form of trying to please Krishna.
Mm.
And that trying to please Krishna is what we say, prefaced or begins by following the instructions of the spiritual master. It's very easy. We follow the process. You want to please Krishna, learn what is your spiritual master's instructions and how to execute those instructions in the mood of service. Very easy.
Okay, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Priya Maharaj,
You have to understand that's for your benefit. It's not for the spiritual master has nothing to gain. Krishna has nothing to gain. It's all for your benefit.
Yes, sir.
But because we're lost in the material world, we don't know how to do things. Therefore, there is a process.
Mm. Yes,
Follow
sir.
the process, very easy.
Yeah.
And learn the process so you can follow it. And if you're not sure what the process is, it's in the books, in the lectures, it's in the inquiries.
Excuse me, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Accept my humble obeisances. When it is true, because when I think I sometimes I feel Krishna, no, but sometimes no, because I'm little, I'm no qualification to feel this, to stay in this mood. But it's too simple for me thinking and feeling the and see the devote. When I see the devote, for example, this morning I read, I see a pure devote in a video, you, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Maharaj. I feel this, but for me, Krishna is too big sometimes. I don't know.
You did just follow the process. Chant Hare Krishna. Take only food offered to Krishna, prasadam. Read the books. Ask questions based on your understanding of the books. And most important, associate with devotees. Go to the temple, go to the festivals, become involved with Krishna consciousness, and all of these things will start to develop. If you want to learn something, you have to get involved in the learning process. If you want to experience something, you can't just experience something theoretical by how you feel. You have to get involved. You have to do something. Forget about this feeling or that feeling. These feelings come and go. They're not so.
This
Just focus your mind on the activities. That's all. The activities are you automatically will give you the experience.
Hare Krishna.
We should not try to over intellectualize every minute of what's happening to me. Why is this? Why is yeah. It's just you become paralyzed. You start over intellectualizing. Just go for the process. Chant, dance, take prasad, associate with devotees, go to the temple, go to the festivals. Italy, there's a lot going on in Italy. I was just talking to what's his name? Temple president of Villa Vrindavan.
Parabhakti.
Parvati, I was just talking to him yesterday. I was mentioning your name. I was asking him if he knew you. And then I was talking to some other, there was Janava Sundari, she was also there. You know Janava Sundari?
Yes, Janava Sundari is my yoga teacher.
Yeah, she's good. So we were talking, and then, you know, Parabhakti, he's a very good leader. He's got a lot of programs going on there.
Yes.
So Villa Vrindavan, you can go and stay there for a while and just, you know, absorb yourself and, you know, for a period of time in Krishna consciousness. Nice. Beautiful area.
Yes.
It's in one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's in Florence. Florence is like practically the most cultured place throughout the entire world. There's so much rich spiritual culture there. Rich material culture also, too. Some of the greatest architects in the world have come from Florence.
Mm. Yes. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You wanted to go ahead with your question or comment, or? Okay.
No, you know. Thank you.
So, Scarlett Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I have two questions. One is you talk about why the bad things happen to the good people and so on, and you mentioned someone has said that it's bad things happen to the bad souls. Is it so that soul can be good or bad?
The soul is always good. Soul is part of Krishna. Soul doesn't touch the material energy. Soul cannot be affected by material good and bad. But because it's in the body, it identifies with the body and it thinks like that. But the soul is always pure. Soul is always in love with Krishna. But it's covered.
So when soul is in my body, and this
It's not the soul is in your body. You're in, and the soul is you, and you have a body. You are the soul, you're not the body.
okay.
The soul is you. Now, the science of the soul is very difficult to understand from a theoretical point of view. That's why when Nachiketa asked Yamaraj to explain what is the nature of the soul, Yamaraj said, don't ask that question. It's an answer that I can't give you. Too difficult. Because the soul, you can't see the soul. You can't understand it by intellectualizing. But you can understand one thing, you can understand it in relationship, that this body is operating because of the presence of the soul. Body is made out of material elements, and material elements don't have life. This body is dead. It's always dead. But what gives its life is the presence of the soul. Just like what gives the car its life is the driver. There's no driver, the car just sits there. In the same way, this body is just a combination of material elements, and the soul is the energizing force, which is the spiritual force within the body, which is the individual. You are the soul. Soul can never be bad. The soul is always part of Krishna. It's never good or bad. It's spiritually good, but not materially good. It has all good qualities because it's part of Krishna. As Krishna has all good qualities, so the soul does also. But that's you. But you're in this particular body and you identify with that body as being bad and good, but that has nothing to do with you. So bad things don't happen to good people because good people can't produce bad things. Good people produce good things and bad people produce bad things, but it's not in one life. As we said, life is continuous. Karma manifests as life after life after life. The
But
body you have is a manifestation of the karma of your previous life, where you were born, who's your parents, what is your gender, all of these things are part of your previous karma. Why are some people born in one country? Why are some people born in a good situation? Why are some people born in a not so good material situation? It's all due to the fact of previous activities and desires.
does that mean that when let's say when I before I born, I desired for the life I got this time. I wanted to have that life. That's why I desired
Yeah.
born with it.
Well, you got that birth. What you do with the birth, that's your choice in this life. But the birth that you get is due to your past karma.
But there's something I have always wondered. There was a child in United States that there was three small girls, very, very small girls, that they got kidnapped and put it in some place. And these girls grow up in that house by a man raping them every day. And they were very little. Does it mean that they had the desire for that life?
Means that they've done something in the past to deserve what they got. Can't see that. The fact that the three of them are together is also due to their previous karma. Material energy works completely under the control of the three modes of material nature. Only when you take shelter of Krishna can you break the effects of the material energy. And you can change your karma, you can change your destiny. Only when you take to the spirit, you have to come above. Otherwise, people are karnanam gunasangasyo sarasa joni janmasyo. You take birth, higher places, lower places, middle places, this family, this gender, this mentality. All of this is due to the accumulation of your activities in previous lives. The present life is accumulation of all of your activities in the previous life. It's the law of karma.
Okay. My next question is the reading book. Unfortunately, because of that, I have so little now time for to do my exercise and go and train. So I'm home and I do all that because I don't have anyone who can help me to wash for me or make food for me or anything. Everything takes time for me because I'm very, very slow in my body. Whatever, however, is that I read and especially on the evening, I read a lot. I read all that I can. I listen to lecture and that led me to reading, and this reading, I cannot stop it. I just continue. I don't see the time. I don't understand the time. I continue, and then I will look at the time. Oh my God, it's 2 o'clock in the night, and then I sleep. So is that wrong? That way of reading is wrong? I mean, I can't help it. I have pain, I cannot sleep. So that's why I sit and read, just because to take away my mind from the pain. But then I read and read and read and read, and I don't feel the time. I just continue reading. Is it wrong?
Don't give me this right and wrong answer. That's a material concept, right and wrong. This is right, this is wrong. You get too much in this mindset. Is this right? And is this wrong? Is this right? And this wrong? Krishna consciousness is not understood in this material right and wrong program. What is beneficial to your spiritual life is right. What is not beneficial is wrong.
It doesn't hurt me. I like it. It doesn't hurt me, and I learned. Then it means it's beneficial, right?
When do you get up early in the morning? When do you get up? When you sleep at 2 o'clock?
7 o'clock. I don't sleep more than 5. 5 hours is the maximum I can sleep because the
But-
pain.
But if you want to get up.
Okay, all right. So the point is that are you able to chant your rounds nicely the next
Yes.
morning?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't do the whole chanting 16 rounds at the same time. I don't do it. I do half. I do 8 in the morning and then 8 in the afternoon, sometimes with 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right and wrong depends on, it's called anukulena and pratikul. It's the principle of what is favorable for devotional service, what is unfavorable for devotional service. Is it increasing your attraction to Krishna or not?
It doesn't take me away. I'm more drawn to it. I'm like magnet. I'm more drawn to it, and I do more. I read more. I study more. I listen to the lecture more and more and more. It doesn't stop.
You have to learn these two principles. I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer because it doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
See, is it beneficial to your spiritual life or not? You have to understand that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
That's the understanding.
Thank you, Mataji. Namrata Mataji, you have a question.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, do we choose the rasa we want to relish with the Supreme Lord? Is okay, then is it already there and we just discover it?
Right, it's fixed. Your rasa is fixed. Your relationship with Krishna is already there. It's eternal.
So there's a story in Srimad Bhagavatam where Kardama Muni, he is chosen to be the father of Kapiladev, but he wanted to serve the Supreme Lord in the mood of Dasyaras, but he was given the duty of the Vatsalya Ras, or the parental part. So he chose.
Whoa. He never performed that rasa. As soon as the child was born, he left home. He never was in the role of a father. As soon as the child was born, he said to his wife, now, leaving, and he left.
Okay, thank you.
He didn't
Maharaj.
play that
clar-
role as a father.
Hmm.
He played the role as supposedly of bring.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Supriya Mataji. That she dropped off. Okay. Devotees, any more questions or comments?
I think Revati Mataji had a question, Srimati
Yes,
Mataji.
you also raised. Yeah, that was. Revati Mataji, you want to go ahead with your question, or you will?
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Just wanted to, Guru Maharaj already answered, but just would like to clarify more. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So my question is, I think Guru Maharaj is trying to share something. Sorry. Guru Maharaj, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Guru Maharaj. Right.
I was broken when I was answering Namrat's question.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
understand, sir? Namrat?
Yes, yes, Guru Maharaj, I understood the question, the answer, sorry. Yes.
Okay, all right, just wanted to confirm that. Okay, go ahead, Revati.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. It's a lot of important points you have mentioned. So my question is like, you said like love expands based on service, not on emotions. So most of the time we try to mix our emotions while doing service. And I find it very hard to, differentiate. Sometimes I think most of the time I put my emotions. So how to practice that, not to do any service based on emotions. I understand you said like personal interest, never look for any personal interest, but still like, it's naturally it comes out like we take decisions also on emotions.
Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in that. Just do your service. No, your emotions shouldn't overshadow your service. That's the whole point. We are emotional. The whole process of bhakti is also about spiritual emotions, but they develop naturally as you continue in your process of service. We don't know much about Krishna when we begin, so we're getting an understanding through service. As the service develops, we experience some happiness, some emotional attraction, or some unhappiness. Something happens, so emotions are going to be there. You can't shut down your emotions, but don't let those emotions interfere with your service. That's the whole thing.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Practice.
Yeah, it's not about, like, Prabhupada talks about this. One lady says, "Oh, last night I had a dream and Krishna appeared to me in my dream and he was pulling on my sari." So, so people get into this sahajya stuff about emotions. So feelings will be there because feelings are life. Emotions are life. But when emotions overshadow intelligence and cause intelligence to become stunted, then you fall down to the material platform. So use your emotions to direct your service to Krishna. That's why we serve Krishna with love. That's good.
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Very important point you mentioned, like emotions, we should not let overshadow our intelligence. I should practice that. Sometimes emotions dominate my intelligence. But as you said, we should tail it to service to Krishna. Yeah, and as I was reading this, Guru Maharaj, like you said, like bad things happen to good people. So this verse here, I was reading like it's Canto 1, chapter 17, text 18. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, like, although the bull or the personality of religion, the cow, the personality of earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was a direct cause of their sufferings, still the devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of Lord, no one should inflict trouble on them. So I was just thinking about cow slaughter, all these things. Is it happening because Lord sanctioned it? How should we understand? Because here the bull and the cow, they mentioned it, they are suffering because
the Lord doesn't sanction it, but people work under the influence of the three modes of material nature, and Krishna doesn't interfere with those modes. He sets the mode. He organizes the modes of material nature, just like a watchmaker will make a watch. And so the watchmaker makes the watch, and then the watch runs in a certain way. And so Krishna arranges the material energy to work in a certain way, and it does. and it's based on action and reaction. So if people are sinful, then they commit these kind of activities to cause harm to other living entities, abortions, cow slaughter, wars, violence, all of these things are reactions for people's sinful activities. We explained that when the mode of goodness is prominent, then the demigods are in control. When the mode of passion is prominent within the material energy, the demons are in control. When the mode of ignorance is prominent, the yakshas and rakshasas, the lowest of all creatures, are prominent. So now you can't say that the mode of goodness is prominent in the world. It's just not. Even Prabhupada said the mode of goodness is hardly even visible in today's world, and it's becoming less and less. Passion and ignorance is what drives the material energy nowadays. Of demons and violence, irreligion, immorality goes on because that's what people want, and therefore there is so much suffering. There's so many problems. So, therefore, we tell people, we tell the devotees, if come to the mode of goodness, and from the mode of goodness, you can start to execute devotional service. Can't execute devotional service from passion and ignorance. So all of these things go on because of the sinful activities of people. They've chosen to act like that, and therefore they get the reaction. And Krishna is neutral.
Krishna.
I think Guru Maharaj.
Power went off, I think. Okay. Let's wait for 2-3 minutes. Maybe Maharaj will come back. Oh, he got dropped off.
Meanwhile, I'll share my experience.
Yes, Mataji, please go.
Should I?
Yes, Mataji.
I had, I mean, I cannot say it's a near-death experience, but I felt like it was a kind of Paramatma realization for me. I'm not still sure because I never read Bhagavad Gita, never did any devotional service as such. Like, I mean, I was not into this Krishna consciousness, but I could feel what is going on in anybody's mind, even if the person is overseas. So that way I could, I could definitely, it was not for everyone, only those people who are related to me. But I could understand what is going on in their mind and how it feels exactly. Whatever they were feeling, I was feeling here. So it was a horrible experience actually. But I'm not sure if that is the Paramatma realization or how do we know? That is the question I had actually wanted to ask to Maharaj also. How do we know which kind of realization we have reached?
What I needed to ask him was, he says that you should follow the spiritual master's advice and do the things.
Maharaj is back. Thank you, Mataji. Maharaj, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think my internet is really unstable right now, and it's already an hour and a half into the program. So
Yes.
I think we're going to have to stop.
Yes,
So
Maharaj.
we can continue.
Tomorrow.
Whatever questions these have, they can hold it till tomorrow.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for your association. Thank you for dear devotee for a nice question answer session. Thank you all very much.
Maharaj ki
Srila
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Guru
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Hare
Hare
Thank you all.
Krishna.